For more chat about geek entertainment, answers to your questions, and news from the wider world of Christian geekery, get the Christian Geek Central podcast today on iTunes and other podcast services. Well, my editing skills are crap, but can the same thing be said about boss level? Stick around and find out. Well, put your little hand in mine. There ain't no hill or mountain we can't climb. I got you, babe. Hey, I'm Peter Franson from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions, here with my uncut review of Boss Level. This one just premiered on Hulu. This is my first review in the second annual March Movie Madness Week. I'm going to be reviewing a different movie every day of this week, and this is the first for a total of 7 when all is said and done. Hopefully, I'm going to bring you as many gems as I possibly can, and this one, just I'll tell you right off the bat, is certainly a gem that I will look forward to introducing to many people for a long time. Let me tell you a little bit about it. The synopsis on IMDb says, a retired Special Forces officer is trapped in a never-ending time loop on the day of his death. And that's really all that it says on IMDb. I'll give you just a little bit more information. He has to figure out why he's repeating. He doesn't know, at the start of the movie, he has no idea why he's repeating and why a bunch of men are trying to, well, a bunch of different men and women, assassins, colorful assassins, are all trying to kill him. And every day he's able to get a little bit further in through the day, and then he has setbacks and stuff. It's lots of action, lots of comedy that's connected to some of those video game tropes, which he kind of acknowledges from the very beginning. Is like, I'm living in a video game, you know. And a video game, from his perspective, he's a character that's probably in his supposed to be in his late 40s, early 50s, and so he's thinking more of the old school classic side scrollers where you die and repeat a lot. And of course, we do have games in the modern era that have gone back to that formula more. But anyway. The story also involves his ex-wife and a top-secret project that she's been working on, and that becomes relevant as the story unfolds. And so, yeah, it's a time loop movie. Is that a genre yet? You know, of course, I think it all probably started off, or at least was popularized by Groundhog Day, which was a comedy. But then you have other sci-fi movies or sci-fi action movies like Edge of Tomorrow that are playing it not for comedy, but, well, it's some comedy in, I think, everyone that uses the time loop kind of gimmick. But lots of action as well. And this is certainly primarily an action movie. Definitely has comedy peppered throughout, but it plays up the trial and error tropes of difficult video games. The comedy is of a dark nature, usually related to his many deaths throughout the movie, or video gaming's sort of casual attitude about death. I mean, one of the things that makes Groundhog Day funny is he doesn't care about the fact that he's going to die. He doesn't care what he's doing to people and how he's treating people, because in his mind, it's all going to happen again anyway. He's going to have another shot. And so it's playing to that same kind of tendency toward humor that comes from someone that is just ambivalent about everything that happens when normally we would not be, given the situations that he is in. And through both the editing of the movie, as they'll do these comedic clip sequences of showing you multiple tries of something that he's trying to do, and they'll show you, they number the attempts throughout the movie as well, so you know, unlike Groundhog Day, you have a sense by the end of this movie how many times he's been living this same day over and over again. And so between the action itself and the editing and the way they tell the story, it feels like it's constantly moving. You know, this is not a movie that gets slow and quiet really ever. Well, there's one exception to that, and I'll come to that in a little bit. There are some nice unexpected turns in the story. It's not necessarily coming to a climax when you think it is, and I really appreciated that. And it makes room, as I was just maybe implying, for some beautiful, quiet father-son drama, as Roy regrets being absent from his son's life, and those regrets become somewhat relevant to the story. It gave me action and a full-on embrace of a crazy sci-fi concept, but also had heart and 2 to 3 scenes that came close to tearing me up. This is the balance that I want in my movies that I consider my favorite movies of all time. If I were to give you my list right of what today are my favorite movies of all time, probably every single one of them would have some element of crazy geekiness to it, but then also heart. also something that moves me, and that was certainly the case with this movie. Full on geek stuff, full on crazy, funny action and all that kind of stuff, but they take time to give me heart in this character, and it's in a way that's relatable to me and my experiences and the things that motivate me in life. Frank Grillo is the actor that plays the main character, Roy, and he's largely known for supporting roles in action movies he's been over the years. Probably most recognizable to audiences today for, what was his character technically called? Like, he was being the Crossbones character. He was in the Marvel movies, and he was kind of a Captain America villain, and then he got his face all blown up, and so he came back, and I don't know. He wasn't super memorable to me in that movie. In fact, when he showed up after having the building dropped on him, I was like, am I supposed to know who this guy is? But he just keeps appearing, in these different movies that I've seen. But this is the first time I've seen him take center stage. In fact, I believe this movie had trouble getting off the ground because of the director's insistence that Frank Grillo play the leading role. And I'm really glad that he did. I really enjoyed just seeing a different face in the role of the protagonist for this kind of movie. And oh my gosh, I think he was born in 1965, I saw on IMDb. So what is it, would they have 56? Is that how old he'd be? I don't know. Anyway, mid-50s, and he is buff and ripped in this movie. Oh my gosh. And he was great at everything that he was asked to do. I don't know, what the furthest reaches are, the furthest potential of Frank Grillo as an actor. He wasn't asked in this movie to do these really tearful, subtle type scenes, but yet he was asked to do these quiet, tender moments, and he executed on those wonderfully. I mean, I wasn't thinking about his performance and like, is it good or is it bad? I was just going on the ride, with his character and feeling what I was supposed to feel. And so for everything that his character needed to do in this movie, needed to be in this movie, I thought Frank Grillo did a great job and helped me, even though he wasn't putting on this Oscar-type performance or whatever that is. I could go on about the Oscars, but I won't. Even though he wasn't giving that kind of performance, the script and the performance he was giving nearly brought me to tears in several scenes. So anyway, Naomi Watts also is in this movie, and she is his ex-wife and the mother of his son, and she provides really those emotional performance moments that help me connect with some of the more emotional scenes in the movie. She's not in the movie a ton, but she is a vital part, and her performance is a vital part of what makes this movie a complete experience for me. Mel Gibson also is really great as the villain, but more, I would say, for his star power, for just the charisma that comes with Mel Gibson being, a prominent character in a movie, and just kind of the attention that's going to grab from people that have seen him over the years. So it was more that was striking about him than anything particularly dynamic about his character. Don't get me wrong, that's not to say that he was just phoning it in and riding on his star power. Not at all. He really had, the performance the performance quality that I think you would expect from Mel Gibson. So it was a really nice cast. As far as the stunts and visuals go, I think if you want action, you're going to get it in this movie. It's visually engaging for what happens, though. I think we kind of have to credit the script with a lot of the action in this movie, because it's like, what happens next? Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he just did that. So it's more like the gags, the action gags that are a result of him repeating the same day over and over again and kind of becoming an expert at this day. So it's visually engaging more for what happens than, say, how it happens. Where like a movie like The Matrix or some other action movies with sci-fi stuff are going to be more about how it happens, and this one is more about what happens. There's some CG explosions that I think are subpar. Now, granted, my eye is cursed to pick out CGI, I think, more easily than most, which is unfortunate for me. And there are some other post-production effects that look less than theatrical quality now and then, but most others are practical, and so that's not really a concern, or they're just more convincing for whatever reason. They play to the strengths of the technique they're using in effects rather than the weaknesses. So it was, the quality issues and the effects rarely took me out of the movie, but it's also not this impressive CG spectacle that kind of like sets the bar, maintains the bar, or whatever like that for action sci-fi type movies. All right, so what about themes? Is there anything of moral, philosophical, or spiritual significance going on in the themes of this thing that might trigger some worthwhile thought or conversation? I think so, if in particular you're a dad. I'm the father of two boys, ages 13 and 10, and the age of Roy's son in this movie is younger than that. He's probably maybe 8, would be my guess. Anyway, Roy is a man who lives in regret over choices he's made, which led to the end of his marriage and led to his absence from his young son's life. And those regrets are explored, and they become actually tied to the character's core motivation by the end of the movie. Several times throughout this movie, I was reminded of just the precious and beautiful gift that my wife is and that my boys are. This movie made me, in these moments, want to be less selfish of a husband and father, and put aside the thing that I want to do in the evenings more often, and spend time with my boys or whatever. When there are those decision point moments, just be willing to sacrifice and say, maybe I don't need to unwind as much as I feel like I do. Maybe I can let go of that, and I can give some time to one of my boys. So any time that entertainment can do that while also scratching my nerd itches for crazy sci-fi action and storytelling, that kind of movie is almost guaranteed to become a favorite in my collection. Now, I have no idea what your tastes are in movies, but if I were a time traveler, I'd go back in time and say, Pater, okay, use the free trial for Hulu to watch this one. It would even be worth it to pay for the subscription for a month to watch this one. You do not want to miss it. This is going to be possibly the standout movie of 2021 so far for you. And then keep an eye out for whenever it comes to home video, because it's an insta-buy for you. You're going to want this one. You'll want to watch it again with your wife. You'll want to watch it eventually with your boys when they're ready for this content. This is a gem that you'll be trying to help as many people as possible to discover. It's rated TVMA. I didn't see specifics. I would say that's for brutal violence and language. All right, those are my thoughts. I would love to get yours in the comments below. Stay tuned for more March Movie Madness every day this week. 6 more movies to go. Please like, share, subscribe, click that bell to stay connected. I want to thank the Spirit Blade Insiders for making so many of these reviews possible. You can get info about the benefits of joining over at patreon.com/spiritblade productions. And then I hope you join us soon over at christiangeekcentral.com as we continue to geek out and seek the truth. The Christian Geek Central podcast is the longest-running podcast for Christian geeks, with over 600 weekly episodes and counting, featuring audio versions of much of the same content you'll find here, plus exclusive content including weekly news updates from the creators of Christian comics, novels, and video games, debriefing and commentary about what I've been playing, reading, and watching, and my expanded responses to your comments and questions via YouTube, email, or the Christian Geek Central forums. And now, with timestamps, so you can jump straight to the segments you want to hear most. Get the Christian Geek Central podcast today on iTunes and other podcast services, and enjoy one more way you can geek out and seek the truth.